What do films and board games have in common? There's way more overlap than you may realize. Actions, acting, crime, morals, storytelling, these are all aspects of movies that make them so gripping. What if I told you that board games can do the same? In fact, I have some games I think do this even better than movies. So, this is how I'm going to break it down. I want to take those aspects of these great films and I want to link them and pair them up to other board games which I think will combine incredibly well together. And tell you film buffs out there why you should be picking up these games. This just isn't about discussing IPs. That's done to death and it's boring. This is about that emotional roller coaster that these board games and movies take you on. Board game designers, they're just like film directors. They make something from absolutely nothing in order to entertain, evoke and elevate. To me, it's more than just a film, and it's definitely more than just a board game. It's the same thing I look for in both formats. New takes and fresh ideas. Alright, let's discuss my two favorite hobbies and smash them together. It's hardly a great movie if the cast isn't right. Board games let you take the hot seat and get you to showcase your acting chops. Acting greats such as Leonardo DiCaprio, Daniel Day-Lewis, Timothée Chalamet, and let's not forget the absolute legend that is Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel? Are you serious? You put him next to Daniel Day-Lewis?
Who doesn't like Vin Diesel?
Vin Diesel!
Everyone loves Vin Diesel. And what better way than the classic game of charades? Charades? Charades?
Charades. From Yorkshire.
Charades?
No question that.
Charades. If you're not familiar with it, then it's really simple. You pick a word and then you have to act it out and get your group to try guessing it. But what if we could give this little game a little movie and board game twist? The movie twist is simple. You're already acting out, so why not just add in some movie titles and you're halfway there. And the board game twist, you just add some more mechanics, right? Some more rules and you're there. The game I'm thinking of gives you exactly that. It revitalizes that old standard format and gives you something a little bit more interesting. Is it the best of its kind? Maybe, probably not. I'll talk about that game in a moment. But for the movie lovers among you, Time's Up, Title Recall, that is the way to go. I mean, it's called Title Recall, right? Total Recall, Title Recall. Yeah. In the box, you get a bunch of these potential clues. You get a sand timer, score pad, but the clues is the most important part. This is what relates us back to the movies. You're getting movie titles, book titles, song titles, and a bunch of other titles. Time's up. You split up into pairs, if possible. Deal out a stack of cards to everyone. They will eliminate some of the cards. The ones that are remaining all get shuffled up together, and you get going. You get 3 rounds in the game. In the first round, you can give as many clues, as many words as you want, but you just cannot say what's on the card, obviously, but no passing in the first turn. In round 2, 1 word. You got to remember this becomes a memory game all of a sudden because you've had all of the clues at the start. Now you remember the titles of the books and the films. So you're trying to work out from 1 word which one is being related to. But you're thinking, Sahd, hold on a minute. We're talking about acting here. Why have you not mentioned acting? Well, that is round 3, baby. In round 3, no talking, no words, just acting. It's like a silent movie happening in front of your very eyes. And one thing I just want to mention, be silly. Be as silly as you can in this game. The sillier the better, believe me. By the end of it, you tally up your points, but nobody cares about points in Time's Up. You're just trying to have a laugh. Except Fairs, though. Fairs is a stickler for points.
It's because I always beat you, isn't it?
No, you don't win Time's Up, Fairs. Nobody wins Time's Up. But yeah, you can be laughing so hard, nobody's going to care about the points. My favorite, though, is a very similar game to Time's Up. It just gives you more silliness, more ridiculousness, and more I don't care-ness. If that's a word. Is that a word, Fairs?
Definitely not a word.
That's definitely not a word, apparently. Okay. Whatever it is, it gives you more of everythingness. And that game is Monica's. Monica's definitely has a bit more adult-y themes to it as well. But for a grown-up group, it is absolutely hilarious. I've had some of the best games of Monica's and memories from Monica's that I just absolutely never forget. I mean, come on, Fairs. Remember the Spider-Man's greatest foe, the lizard? Yeah, right? That was hilarious.
Can we reenact that for B-roll, please?
Yeah. Now we're going to get a bit more serious at this point. This is morals. Now, great films can change lives. And I'm an avid believer of that. Through challenging your beliefs, teaching you life lessons, or leaving you debating a new perspective. Movies that challenge me and my views are the ones I adore the most. These are films like Philadelphia, Ikiru, Dead Poets Society, Hotel Rwanda, Shawshank Redemption, and The Fast and the Furious.
Fast and Furious.
What? Street racing? It's a bad idea, right? I mean, there's a moral there. No? Morals are a collection of choices you make and the repercussions and consequences of those choices. And most importantly, it's about the lessons you've learned through those experiences. Take, for example, Dead of Winter, a game set in a bleak, cold zombie apocalypse. It gives you options that you don't want to take either of. You work together as a team, but you're also trying to complete your own secret objective. Sometimes it's just a harmless objective. Other times it can be absolutely detrimental to the entire crew. Whatever it may be, it leaves you with that dilemma and lets you choose yourself how you're going to deal with it. I mean, winning is winning. Screw the rest, right? Well, my game of choice, it makes me think different. Is winning always the goal? It gives you really simple mechanics that allows for this interactive narrative experience between yourself and your friends around the table. It really has that Game of Thrones vibe.
Oh, Game of Thrones, eh?
Minus the kinky stuff. I mean, this is a legacy game, so I don't want to give you any spoilers or go into any deep kind of discussion about what the specifics are, but let's just get you into it. From the get-go, you're put into a situation where you have to choose the lesser of two evils. And even if your heart just won't allow it, you understand that in order to be successful in the game, you have to sometimes. To me, it felt like I was just a puppet, being controlled by the powers that be. And if I didn't listen to them and take those orders to complete the objective, I'd fail, instantly setting the tone for the rest of the game. And this game I'm talking about is King's Dilemma. You and your friends are each representing different houses in this kingdom of angst, and you're like a governing body almost collectively. Sometimes it's heartwarmingly funny, other times it's gut-wrenchingly painful. Maybe I just get too caught up into the story, I don't know. But for it to put me through those emotions and really make me delve deep inside of myself to understand, am I good, am I evil? That is absolutely outstanding. I've never played any other board game like it, and I don't think I ever will again. My heart can't take it. But all in all, it is an achievement, and I absolutely applaud the game for that. Okay guys, thanks for watching this far. Just before we carry on to the next segment, why not show GG some love? We can't do this without your support, so go check out the website. We've got all the latest board games and lots more tabletop shenanigans. Everyone's loving Wormspan, and we've still got some stock, at least at this point. This week we've also got some new releases, such as Unmatched Sun's Origin, Diamond, and 3 new decks for Summoner Wars as well. If you happen to be in the north of England, why not come visit us at Gathering Games, Skipton. Let's get on to the next bit. These are my favourites. Gangster movies are the cornerstone of Hollywood. After Fast and Furious franchises, obviously.
Fast and Furious sucks. Stop talking about it.
I love the Fast and Furious. Defined probably more fairly as crime dramas, but I am talking gangster flicks right now. It's one of those genres that for me personally changed the way I look at films. The main reason was actually Goodfellas. So I'm probably 15 years old at this point. Yeah, I know it's a bit too young to watch Goodfellas, but I'm watching it with my dad, so you can blame him for this. But I'm watching Goodfellas, and it's like any other film. And we get to this scene where Henry and Karen, they're walking into a restaurant. My dad turns to me and says, "Watch this scene. All of it is one shot." I didn't really understand what he meant by that, but I watched the scene. And they flow graciously through this scene, walking through into the restaurant all the way to their seat. And I rewinded it, and I watched it again, and then again. It blew my mind. All of a sudden, a million questions came to my head. How did they film it? How did they choreograph this with so many moving components? How did they record the audio for this? I didn't realize then, but my life changed forever. I saw films very differently all of a sudden. That film then also introduced me to a whole host of gangster movies, like On the Waterfront to Chinatown, actors such as Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, directors such as Brian De Palma and Martin Scorsese. There aren't as many board games based on gangster films or the gangster genre as I'd probably hoped there would be. The ones that there are absolutely incredible. Games like La Cosa Nostra came out on Kickstarter probably like mid 2010s. and it was brilliant. It had a very GTA feel with very adult themes, and it recreated that competitive nature of these different gangs fighting to be the richest. The reason I can't really recommend that game for you is you just can't get a hold of it. I looked for a long time. I finally found a copy on eBay, but after the Kickstarter, never went into main publication. No shops sell it, and it is totally out of print. So it's unfair for me to recommend a game to you that you can't basically get a hold of. Another game, which I think is brilliant in the same genre, Cash and Guns, the best recreation of the Reservoir Dogs film I've ever come across. You imagine in Reservoir Dogs, the heist is complete, you're all making your way back to the warehouse on your own, and then the ones who make it, well, you get to divvy up the loot now. And that's what the game is about, divvying up all of the goods. But be warned, you may be marked by one of your opponents, and they all have guns. It's an absolutely hilarious game, really quick to learn and get going with, and especially with a decent sized group. And it's also a great recommendation for anyone old or new in the hobby space. But the film that changed movies forever and impacted the industry more than any other film was The Godfather. 1 and 2, 3 does not exist, Fez.
What's Godfather 3?
Yeah, what is Godfather 3? That's a good question. Yes, I know, I said I wasn't going to talk about movie IPs turning into board games, but hear me out on this one. What better way to get moviegoers to sit down, play a board game based on something they absolutely adore, and introduce them into this world of board games, of mechanisms, of rules, of strategy, showcasing the absolute best of our hobby. Let me introduce you to The Godfather, Corleone's Empire. The game itself is at heart a collection of some of my favorite mechanics, with area control, worker placement, bidding, and much more. You each control different mafia families vying for control of New York through dodgy income, from shakedowns to turf wars, controlling a racketeering network, and it's not a gangster flick without the classic sleep with the fishes. You literally put thugs in the river after a drive-by shooting. Is that the correct use of literally? No, is it not? I still don't get literally and how that works. And obviously it wouldn't fit the theme unless the win condition was about who had the most money stuffed away into their suitcases. It's an incredibly well-designed, immersive, hybrid style game with medium complexity, and in my opinion, it just does not get the love it really deserves. And it's definitely not a family game, but this is the gangster movie section. I really don't think anyone expected that in this section anyway. Okay, let's do this. The greatest movie franchise ever. Yes, the Fast and Furious movie franchise. The most epic story ever told. Fairs, I can't do this.
Yes, you can. Come on.
No, I can't do this.
You got this. Look, you look so much like Vin Diesel right now.
I don't feel like Vin Diesel.
Yes, you do.
Vin Diesel doesn't have hair on his shoulders. Okay, why Fast and Furious, right? Why not? Sometimes you just need something a little brain dead. Something that can just make you relax and just enjoy the experience. Something action-packed. And what better way to relax than flick some wooden discs around a board and feel absolutely epic. Let me introduce you to Pitchka, an adrenaline-fueled French-designed dexterity board game by creator Jean Dupoel. I do apologize if I butchered your name. And it has been around since 1995. Take turns flipping discs around the track you've built, and the first to cross the line wins. And with such a simple rule set, it means your group can interpret and create new rules around them. Our group has qualifying sessions, and we even run multiple laps as well. You better hit that nose, but fall off the track from an overly passionate flick and boom! Respawn where you started, wasting your entire turn. For us, controlling the vehicles is an absolute art form with a lot more dexterity requirements than you might think. Disc control is everything, so get those fingers to the gym and get pumped like Diesel, bro. And then once you think it's all over, it's time for advanced mode. Remove the barriers and see who can make it around this time. And remember, whether you win by a millimeter or an inch, winning is winning. It's a game that never disappoints, no matter what groups I've played it with, and it's probably the dexterity game that gets played the most in my group. Unless it's just the two of us like me and Fez, then all we do is play Classic. And just quickly in this category that we're talking about here, just a quick honorable mention from myself for another racing style game, which is Downforce. It's a very different game altogether. There's no dexterity element. It's moving cars along a board using cards. And then there's also a betting element to it as well. So you might even give team orders and say, lose the race. You want to win some money, don't you? Very sneaky. Probably the most important thing about any film is a good story and a good script. When done right, it can immerse you into a world and put you front and center in its universe. Movie greats like Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, Steven Spielberg's Saving Private Ryan, Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, the Spider-Verse series, and the Fast and Furious franchise. Okay, maybe not Fast and Furious, but you get what I mean. Board games can give you this opportunity to explore a universe where you're sat at the center of this epic saga. You can make decisions and feel the consequences in a way that's just not possible with movies. You can watch your characters grow and shape them however you want. There's one game I think does this the best, but before I reveal it, let's just discuss what makes this game so great. I mean, how can a board game even tell you a story? When I was new to this space, I didn't even consider it to be a possibility. The only way to tell a story in the tabletop space was through RPGs, you know? And the more I researched it, the more I looked into it, I realized that it just became something that wasn't a reality for me. That first D&D session for myself just got further and further away. Where do I get a DM? Where do I get a group? But what I didn't realize at the time was even with games like Monopoly or Risk, they all told a story. And it was that story, that narrative I would discuss with my friends. Me and Fairs would sit there and I'd be like, remember that time I borrowed £200 off of Adam just to get out of jail? And then for the rest of the game, I'm in debt with Adam, which just became crippling. It's these stories, these little moments that we remember, even in the most humble of games. And yeah, Monopoly's a game I'm never going to play again, to be honest with you. Especially once you've experienced this world of board games. Why would you play Monopoly ever again?
Monopoly sucks, man. I don't know why we're talking about it on this channel.
Yeah, Monopoly sucks, but we're going to get to the cool stuff in a moment. But the real question was, why was I even discussing this moment in Monopoly? Because in my mind, it was real. I experienced that heartache and grief. I went through those motions. All because of these set of mechanics and rules. But realistically, that is what life is, a set of rules and mechanics, regulations and systems we abide by. But that in effect was the start of something that's grown into so much more, and board games today have taken it all to a whole nother level. And they've enhanced to the ability to give you deeper, richer stories than ever before. Games like Forgotten Waters that give you deep levels of exploration, allowing you and your crewmates to set sail across the seas to find great adventures. Or even games like Caverna that through deep decision making, if not fully thought out, you can suffer devastating consequences like not being able to feed the family you've worked so hard to grow. But before I discuss the game, I want to talk about Legacy of Dragonholt. The reason for it is I want the games in this list to be accessible to all levels of gamers, be you someone new to the hobby or an experienced gamer. And I don't just want to talk about the type of games where you feel like you should have received a degree by the end of completing that rulebook. So yeah, I'm going to talk about two games here. One which is a bit easier to get yourself into and get your head around. And the other one, it is the game that's on my mind when I think about storytelling. And for me, the ultimate experience. But yeah, it's definitely not for the faint of heart and not for people who've never played another board game before. Legacy of Dragonholt is one of the easiest and lightest board game experiences you can have, with a very low set of rules. And for me, it finally gave me that encouragement and that push I needed to go and actually try D&D for the first time. It can be played solo or cooperatively. I played it at 2 players and I absolutely adored it at 2. Don't really imagine it being played more than that, to be fair. And it immerses you into this high fantasy setting, the realms of Terranoth. Its setting is more like D&D, but Legacy of Dragonholt takes you on a role-playing experience without the need for a dungeon master. It manages to blend RPGs, adventure games, and open world sandbox games like GTA, minus all the cars and guns. And its style is also very much like these choose your own adventure books. It lets your imagination just run absolutely wild. Mold your character however you like and then just set off on your adventure. It has some really cool elements as well, like places or things that you visit being different depending on what time that you might visit them, or events that might have occurred before the visit. And then from that it tells you this story that just slowly unravels itself as you dig deeper and deeper into the game. But the game that for me is the greatest tale to ever be experienced in board gaming history, that game is Tainted Grail: The Fall of Avalon. A game of exploration, decision making and consequences. It is an unforgettable experience, stitched together with these branching stories. That means you get to tell your tale the way that you want to tell it. It is one of the most epic tales I have ever lived, with some of the most immersive elements I have ever witnessed in any game. And the supporting app is absolutely incredible. The narrative is all voice acted and just turns up the experience to 11. But if you'd prefer to do the acting yourself, then by all means, read the verses yourself. This is the dark Arthurian fantasy I never wanted to end, a world I never wanted to leave. Give me more expansions, please, Awaken Realms. I can think of a few other games that I've played that reached that level of immersion that Tainted Grail had, and I've put that list together in my top 10 right here. Go ahead and click on it. Click it! Click it! Don't make me get diesel, bro. I hope this gives you some interesting picks for you to go out and find, and I hope it inspires you to get a little bit nerdy. I want to hear what films and board game combos you have down below in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and remember, keep it GG.